All right, everybody, welcome on back. Continuing along our Friday, finally, TGIF here in the Cyber Group Trading Room and streaming across social media here, Facebook Live and YouTube. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. And we're getting a bit of a dead cat bounce here within the markets. So hopefully the Dow can squeeze up much higher going into the close. We were just watching the SPY, S&P 500 ETF. Great to see everybody, though. Pat, Rob, Ron, trying to trick me there. Bonnie, Jose, and John as well, loud and clear. It looks unanimous across the board. Great to see everybody. All right, so let's begin, guys. We always start with the Dow. I'll dip over to the SPY, though, in just in a moment. We were just watching that, like I'd said. So, to begin, we ended up seeing a huge gap up, early on in pre-market. And for what it's worth, for as much as the market dropped off yesterday, it's expected. In fact, I was doing some homework, so to say, last night myself. And you know what? I guess it's even better if we just jump right over to the SPY, because that's what I was studying at the time. The dead cat bounce we'll come to here in a sec. But I was looking at the SPY across the last, month and a half, seeing this just run right back up just as well as it had done going back into the end of the year, right? I mean, literally, it's the same trend, the same angle, so to say. So I'm just thinking about it, when was the last time we ended up seeing a huge drop-off, sans yesterday? Well, it was back, I'd say, across back in late February, early March. But what I'm referring to here is more or less when we had the last big drop off, we ended up seeing an enormous gap up afterwards. And I think that was going back into mid-April right here. Yeah. And right over here, we ended up seeing a big gap down back in mid to late April. Looks like the market's closed lower here than it had opened up. But this huge gap down, dumped off, ended up closing right near the lows. And, well, the next day, we ended up seeing a huge gap up. And from that point, at least, the Dow ended up pushing up, or the markets entirely. Coming back to today, at least, we ended up seeing a huge gap up early in the morning here, but I didn't think it was going to continue. In fact, it wasn't as if markets were just going to be flat all day, especially given what we had seen yesterday. I was expecting more of a pullback here this morning, guys. So I was prepared for a short. It took a little bit for the markets to get going. The SPY itself was holding above support right over 307. Let me get the pre-market settings up here for right now. At least it wasn't a full gap up. We ended up seeing a big run early in pre-market at least. But now at this point, we ended up seeing the SPY, and this is back from yesterday, bottom out right around 300. So what's happening right now is exactly what I was expecting here at this point, because we ended up seeing the SPY break below major support at $300, and you could see even that on the 5-minute chart from yesterday. That was the low. So we figure with a lower high, we see a lower low, and this broke below 300. But on the 1-minute chart now, look what happened. Started to test it as resistance. All right, it pulled back down, and the S&P, of course, moved with it. But if this isn't breaking any lower, guys, over time, you got to imagine there's only one other way the stock's going to go, or the market entirely for that matter. So right over here, we are saying, is this the time? Is this the moment where we see a stronger bounce back up within the market going into the afternoon? And of course, now we happen to see that. So let's jump over to a couple of side list stocks right now, guys. NCLH, you guys know I love this. I was going to mark up my chart here for you guys going into this afternoon meeting. I wanted to jump to this pretty quickly to do a quick little lesson, so to say. The NCLH trade we were focused on all throughout the day, popped up early on, but like I'd said, shortly around 10 o'clock Eastern time, as the SPY ended up breaking support and the major indices alike ended up falling apart, NCLH went with them. So we ended up seeing Norwegian Cruise Lines alongside everything else drop off. But for the mid-afternoon, you could see just the trend lines I have up here. My goodness, this is as pretty of a pennant as you can ever envision. So, lower highs, higher lows. Now this yellow line here is actually what we tend to call the opening bell print. At 9:30 when the market opened up, we ended up seeing this huge transaction on the tape. So that was right at 1958. It was, not really holding 1958 perfectly throughout the day. You had a nice bounce right here, but between this making lower highs and pulling back, I took a risk. I shorted this underneath 1957, above 1950. So either way you cut it, once this broke below 1950, this was a hell of a short opportunity. Moved with the markets, ended up bottoming out pretty much at 19, next major support whole number level. broke below the level and quickly spiked right through it. And now at this point, as you could see, this one ended up moving up very nicely here. So NCLH, I wouldn't mind just throwing back on our list going into the afternoon here, guys. Not to say it was on the morning watch list, but this is one that's right within our price range. You guys might ask yourself, like, why do I follow this stock every single day and mention this in the afternoon meeting so much? Well, look at the spread. Penny spread, very liquid order books. I mean, you see price or orders at every price level, and larger orders at some of those too. So we ended up seeing a 200,000 plus share order on the bid at $19, and we ended up seeing an even bigger order on the bid prior to that, actually, when it ended up breaking through 1950. Nonetheless, it's moving back up with the major markets right now, the major indices, and we'll look to follow NCLH just given the price, given the volatility, so to say. But alongside with the volatility, again, the liquidity is a huge factor as well. So, the same could be said for CCL. I mean, hey, just one over the other. Both are around the same price range. I just find that NCLH makes sharper moves even. So you might even say that CCL might be, let's say, level 2 to 3 stock, whereas NCLH we would rank as like level 3 to 4 perhaps, just based on the moves up and down. So either way, I wouldn't mind just throwing cruise lines entirely, even RCL, albeit a little bit pricier. Now you could see here the order books thinning out more, opening up here, bigger spread fluctuating. Now that is, kind of expected for a higher price stock, but I wouldn't be surprised if we end up just throwing cruise lines on our list, airlines as well. I mean, you guys know we've been following these pretty much on entirely across the last 3 months. AAL bounced from 16 up to roughly 1650. I like UAL a lot more, though, between the two and some of the others as well. UAL making a sharper move up from 37. This one has a much more liquid order book, so I like this one. You could say the same for Delta, JetBlue, etc., right? We do this every afternoon meeting, guys, but you could see they're all moving up together. So, let's just check in really quickly, I guess, at the same time on the casino stocks. I took my eyes off these a little bit more. I found that the cruise lines and airlines have been better day trades to work with throughout the market open going into the early to mid afternoons. MGM moving it back up, though, as you could see. Penn National Gaming. Ooh, this thing has been pretty slow. Wow, I thought this was going to be a lot sharper of a move. Well, definitely staying away from Penn. Well, either way, guys, these are good stocks to keep on the side, but we'll likely focus on a few of those going into the end of this meeting. I'd like to just go from top to bottom first. Aside from the side list stocks, I got to say, although the markets were moving in a steady direction and we were able to take good opportunities, more on the downside, hopefully now on the way back up, a lot of these small cap, stocks, they're not to say they're all pump and dumps, but the volume drops off a lot more sharp on those trades compared to mid to large cap stocks. For instance, Donald in our chat board right now, JFIN's a level 5 stock. I'll say that right away, Donald, but it's making a very nice bounce, at least for the meantime, here from 4, a nice spike up to 5. Hey, you could see even just from yesterday we were talking about this stock. This morning it ended up popping in pre-market, but totally dumped off after, right? So, that was the case, not just with JFIN. I mean, that was really the case with a lot of these stocks this morning, unfortunately. The CTIB trade, just to go through this one quickly. I mean, hey, this was, top percent gainer. This was actually the most interesting one out of these. A lot of these you can kind of sniff out quickly and say, you know what, that's going to be a pump and dump right away. The JFIN trade, I think that was the one from earlier this morning that Ben was commenting on. And if it wasn't JFIN, it was just one of the other ones this week that went from, freaking like 4 to 30, then back down. But the CTIB trade, it was fairly interesting leading into the open, but for a stock that's up as much as it was, 100, 200+%, well, we know it's going to pull back right away, or at least much more often than not it does. And then from that point, if it breaks through a major support, if it doesn't break any higher from that point and break through that level again and run up, it's going to flatten out, or worse, like this now, totally dumping off and filling the gap from the pre-market. So CTIB, hey, for a stock like this, it was very interesting in pre-market. Wasn't as great of a trade even in pre-market, but an interesting setup to focus on once the market opened up, just dumped off and went the other way. All right, now I got from Pat here. He's saying JFIN halted on the way down. Did that just happen from the last time we checked in? Oh my goodness. Holy, say a 4-letter word here, guys. Jesus. This is exactly what I was afraid of, right? Not to say I was expecting this right here, right now, Pat, but holy smokes. Well, this is why we stay away from JFIN, guys. This is where we see the dump back down. I guess that's good timing. All right. So, like I was saying before, though, unfortunately, going into the end of a week like Friday, we don't really see as much news come out company wise, not as much earnings. So, with that, and really some of the small cap stocks dumping off, it wasn't as exciting of a market open in terms of a high flyer. We did do well on a couple, and we'll go through those here in a second. CLDX continued up for a little bit here early on. Took a little bit, but we called this out right off the pop. Ended up getting halted shortly above 9, I think, at the time. I think it was 912, the halt. Oh, no, it was right underneath 9. 898, it got halted, and then it reopened up at 9 and shortly above there. So, we ended up mainly following the CLDX trade off the pop. Ended up doing all right. I mean, hey, it moved up, pretty much $1, but ended up pulling back down. This is where the volume craps out quick on a lot of these small cap runners. And again, for a stock like CLDX that made such a big move day over day this week, you can't keep expecting it, guys. I mean, again, I just went through this, I think, yesterday with you guys, but the Genius trade, and this will recap here right now, but Genius was a huge move up 2 weeks ago, and it gapped up even higher the following morning. That, and then you can see that red bar in the daily chart. Well, it popped even again, but totally dumped off, and look at the aftermath. So this Genius trade was actually a nice trade in pre-market, I have to say. So we called this out off the Fausto flag. This Fausto went over during the morning briefing with you guys, but popped from the Fausto flag. We called out at 380, ran up from 4, popped even higher from there, but again, dumped back down. I mean, we just saw the same thing happen before. So hopefully we don't tend to see the same thing going into the afternoon, guys. I would love to catch not just a steady move within the market like we've had, but I'd love to catch a really nice trade, a nice pop off of news, or, not to say low float, but I mean, the IMRN trade was nice earlier too, but that one's at this point dumping back down. Something like an IMRN, perhaps, that can make a sharp breakout going into the close for us to take advantage of. We hope to catch that, but at least for right now, what we'll do is go from top to bottom. We'll see if there's anything else we could work with going into the afternoon, guys. I don't think I put anything on the list thus far. Probably will put NCLH, but for right now, I'll keep that on the side. NCLH and UAL, I think. Another one, CHNR, China Natural Resources. This one ended up having a nice little pop after the open, so this wasn't really pre-market as much. Let's see, at least. I'll run through this at least from the morning with you guys while I have the chance. So market opened up. There's your pullback, dumped off. Looks like it ended up mainly breaking out above resistance at 4. You can see it was like cradling underneath 4, and finally, once this popped through an iceberg, it seems like huge return, huge move up. But again, dumped right back down. All right, this NETE trade was more of an afternoon run so far. Let's see. This one we called out pretty much right off the first pop here. It was pretty low volume at the time, but eventually ended up breaking higher. This was a nice mid-afternoon run, as you can see, up towards essentially 535, and shook back down. I'm just afraid of this continuing to pull back at this point, and it certainly seems like it's going to continue doing so. And the thing has a huge spread given the price right now too. Fluctuating up and down. Now it's a penny. You just saw like a 10-11 cent spread a moment ago. It's not a direct correlation, guys, between price and liquidity on the order book. Keep in mind, I wrote to a student yesterday or the day before that, there's a certain stock, it's expensive, but that wasn't the reason I disliked it. It just had a huge spread. It had very thin order book, and they were finding it difficult to read. If you're finding it difficult to read, you probably shouldn't be trading it. Same goes for this. This is a $3 stock, right? I love the price, but I don't like the liquidity. Now, at this point, again, it's kind of pulling back down. So either way, I'm not going to put this on the list, but it just goes to show, guys, don't directly correlate price and spread or price and liquidity on the order book. All right, the IMRN trade we just went over, or briefly we just did actually, ran shortly after the open, low volume breakout, continued up. Same thing happened though, right? I mean, essentially, actually, not even same thing, even worse, because this ended up still closing fairly up there back on Wednesday or Tuesday of this week, up towards 20. I mean, it pulled back 10 points, I think, from 30. 9 points from 29 down to 20 it closed at here. And then look what happened the next day. Well, I guess it's making that exact type of pump and dump within one day here, guys. So this IMRN trade, no bueno at this point. All right. Let's see. There we go. I guess we're getting a little slow down here on TradeStation. Uh-oh. This doesn't happen too often. XBA is right near the highs of the day. I'll tell you that much right now. You can see that off the matrix. So XBA, we don't have anything on the list so far, guys. XBA will be the first one so far. Nice little pop here. You could see it was near the highs based on where the yellow bar is on the matrix and the thin green bar right near the top here. That's how you could tell the high of the day. Now, I'm getting some chat right now, guys, from John and Greg in the chat board here, two of our students saying GNUS took off. All right, it popped over 4. That's a good start. I love the volume, certainly. I mean, just off the breakout here. Let's see. 107,000 share transaction here on the time and sales. That's, to be fair, not really as much. The stock's trading 81 million shares today, guys, and that seems to be just a little bit above the average even. So this stock trades a lot of volume day to day, which is good for us. I mean, this is I would love to see then, in essence. So, you know what? We only have XSpawn. Why not throw Genius? It's one that we're familiar with, at least, right? Just be careful of the volume crapping out quick, though, and for this to pull back under 4. If this breaks under 4 quick, guys, I would get out fast. There's always room for re-entry. So good call, very good setup. Hopefully it ends up making a perfect run. Just be on the lookout for a volume dump off. All right, so I lost my spot there. Very good call, guys. Let's see what else we have. LTRPB, Liberty Trip Advisor here. We traded one of those, I think, like a month back. COCP, I think we used to nickname this like Copacabana. I don't know why, just COCB. Lower highs moving up towards 150-ish, but over time it pulled back. Yeah, right now I'm going to pass on this COCB. Maybe I'll come back to this at the very end. Party, oops, my bad. Party City, this one got halted at the open, right? Party City at 9:30, coming off earnings, ended up getting halted as soon as the market opened up. It was pretty unexpected. I mean, it was halted on the way down, actually. It took 5 minutes for it to reopen up, and from that point was a dud. So I was really pumped to trade Party City this morning, guys, off of earnings. I didn't know if it would end up making a huge run, but it's one that we're familiar with. It's one that we've traded across the last 2-3 months here in the Cyber Group room. So at least prepping for the week, I had Party City on my earnings calendar for this morning. So unfortunately, it was a disappointment. Kind of seems like it's beginning to inch up here, a little bit of volume coming in, but again, I'm going to pass on this right now, guys. Listen, going into a weekend, especially a summer weekend, especially coming off quarantine still, we're going into summer right now. I think a lot of us are stir crazy inside our houses. I think the market makers are tired. I think that they're trying to go outside. So I don't know how exciting of a close this will be. I mean, if the markets continue to tank or if they continue to bounce here at this point, of course, we'll see some stocks move. I'm just saying that as far as seeing a huge pop, nice big runner here, I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket yet and just guarantee it. I hope so. But this is certainly one of those days, guys, I would say. If you made your money on the morning, or at least across the afternoon, I would look to lock it up and begin your weekend early. This WRTC trade, though, looks pretty good. Nice pop, new high. Yeah, nice run. All right, so maybe this is it. This could be it. Pushing up pretty nicely here. Thin order book. So again, this is the type of stock to make like a pump and dump type move. You can see how fast the volume crapped out the first time at 1 o'clock. But good call. This one will make the list for now. All right, let me just get the price going here again. All right, KBSF, another pump and dump move this morning, guys. I mean, this one was pretty interesting too, off the 550 level. It was pulling back going into the open, but continued to dump off right afterwards. Oil stock, OAS, just flat, not really doing anything. All right, let's see. Any other familiar names here, guys? UAL up 15%. Of course, we discussed UAL just a moment ago. I guess we'll check back in with it. It's holding up pretty strong up towards 38.50. Like I said, guys, the two sideless stocks I would put on our list would be the NCLH and the UAL trades, I think. Maybe Save. Save has been pretty volatile of late. It is shortable. Oh, no, it's not. Hard to borrow. I'm sorry. It was shortable. I guess it's not any longer. All right, so you know what? I guess we'll come back to these if need be, guys. What we'll do is hop over to the losers list. I see nothing else on the gainer side. What time's it? 2:50. All right, got a little time. SELB trade dropping off perfectly throughout the day, bouncing right now from 250. It is shortable, and that's why I turned to it right away. But for right now, I'll pass. If this could re-break 250, that SELB trade, maybe we'll look to give it a shout. But for right now, I'll pass. Everything else hard to borrow, guys. So unless if there's anything that you know that's on this losers list that's either bouncing really nicely at this point, or if it's shortable and pulling back down, ready to make a new low, new run, let me know. I think that we're pretty much good at this point. We have 3 stocks on our list, guys. I mean, you've heard it from me every afternoon meeting. I make fun of myself. I make a big afternoon list. I see the opportunity in a lot of stocks, and I got 3 stocks. That's it so far, guys. So if there's anything else, let me know. And 2 of them were from you guys here in the chat board in the trading room, from John on Genius and Greg, and then the WRTC. Oh, that's right, from Jose. I'm sorry. I did see that, Jose, from earlier. I'm sorry. How about OKE? Down 5%, moving up to 33.50. Listen, it's a tradable stock. It's just like, anything else I can kind of whip up here, like MGM. Tradable stock, tight spread, liquid order book, moving up, right now at the market and holding up for the meantime. Right. So, I'd say, hey, if you made money on it, if you're doing well, which, by the way, I have to give Jose M in our trading room. He's one of our newer students joining us still at this point. I want to give him a big shout out, actually. I've been giving shout outs all week, from Chuck to Jason, now to Jose M. Jose ended up picking up, which I don't know if it's true or not, at least his best day ever so far. But he has mentioned just before the afternoon meeting started how the light bulb's turning on. And I think it's only really his like 5th or 6th. Is it day or week, Jose? I want to give you a big round of applause either way. You wrote earlier before we started 10 minutes ago, you said, I am at triple my daily goal. I don't know what day it was, but this week the light bulb came on. He says 5th week here. He says, congratulations, Jose. Very nice. All right. Give me a quick sec, guys. Just one of us in the chat board. All right. There we go, guys. So if there's anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I think that we should be good. We're not going to force anything on the list. Maybe check in on like VIX symbols, VXX, UVXY. Again, seems like VIX is beginning to move back up for what it's worth. So maybe the S&P pulling back down. Check back in once more on the SPY. Bit of a lower high right now. So maybe we might see a pullback here at this point. All right, so you know what? We only have 3 on the list. We will add NCLH. We will add UAL just because those are 2 volatile stocks, but easy to read based on the order book. Not to say they're necessarily easy trades, but they're easy to identify the support resistance from level 3. So, with that in mind, I'll look to make these call outs on NCLH and UAL with you guys, and we'll look to follow them going into the close. All right, I fixed up the banner on the stream here for Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys would like more information regarding Cyber Trading University, certainly feel free to call the phone number down below. One of our education advisors will pick up, provide more detail. Aside from that, for all of us here in the trading room, listen, guys, I'm not expecting much. So if we happen to see a very strong market, in that case, I'll look to, take some trades. But, I'm not going to force anything out there, and especially if you made your money like Jose did earlier today and this week. No need to waste it, right? No need to give it back. So, just look to start your weekend early if there's nothing that you guys like. Of course, aside from that, I'll be here till 4 o'clock. So hopefully we do catch a runner. Otherwise, it'll be a boring afternoon. All right, guys, as I always say, enjoy the rest of the day today, but let's try and close out this day just as well as we had opened it up. Take care.